The night was dark on the ruined alien world. Broken towers stood like skeletons against the sky, and strange winds carried the smell of burned stone. A lone human engineer, Daniel, walked carefully across the cracked ground. His ship had crashed weeks ago, and he was still searching for a way to survive. Every step was heavy, and every sound in the ruins made him alert. He had learned one thing about this galaxy: humans were not welcome everywhere. Daniel carried only a small pack of tools, a weak light, and his will to stay alive. He thought the ruins were empty, only shadows and broken machines. But then he heard something unusual, a soft voice almost like a whisper. It was not the sound of wind or the cry of animals. It was a word spoken in fear: help. Daniel froze. His light shook as he turned it toward the sound. He expected danger, maybe raiders, maybe a trap, but what he saw made his breath stop. A figure sat against a broken wall, covered in dust and thin royal cloth torn from travel. Her face was pale silver, her hair glowing faintly in the moonlight. But her eyes, they were closed with strange metal implants cracked along the sides. She looked weak, her hands trembling as if even breathing was hard. Daniel stepped closer, but slowly. He could not believe what he was seeing. She was not just any alien. She looked like someone important, almost regal. "Who are you?" Daniel asked carefully. The figure raised her head slowly. Her eyes did not move. Instead, she turned her face toward his voice like a blind person searching for sound. I am lost," she whispered, "and I cannot see." Daniel knelt near her, shining his light. The implants around her eyes were damaged, small sparks blinking weakly. He had seen technology like this before in old reports. It was advanced medical work, something that could replace lost vision. But hers were broken. "You're blind," Daniel said softly. She nodded. "Since birth. These implants gave me hope, but they failed long ago. Now I wait for the end." Her voice was calm, but also heavy with sadness. Daniel felt a strange pull inside his chest. He had been alone for weeks, surviving on scraps. He had promised himself never to get involved in alien politics, never to risk his life for others. But now, looking at her fragile form, he could not walk away. "What is your name?" he asked. "I am Lyra," she said quietly. "Princess of the House Vera." Daniel's heart skipped. A princess. That explained her clothes, her presence here. But what was a blind princess doing alone in ruins? He wanted to ask more, but she was already losing strength. Her head leaned to the side and she whispered, "The stars. I wish I could see them once before I die." Daniel looked up at the endless sky filled with bright alien constellations. Something inside him decided in that moment. He could fix machines. He could build. And maybe, just maybe, he could heal her. He placed his pack on the ground, pulling out his tools. "Princess Lyra," he said firmly, "you will see the stars again. I will repair your implants." Her lips parted in shock. "You, a human? Our technology is not yours." Daniel gave a small smile. "Technology is just machines. Machines can be fixed, and I'm good with machines." She was silent, then gave the faintest nod. The air around them grew tense as he examined the implants. Tiny circuits burned out, small crystal nodes cracked. He connected wires, tested energy with his scanner. It was not easy. His hands trembled slightly, not from fear of failure, but from the knowledge of what this meant. If she truly was a princess, fixing her could change everything. As he worked, shadows moved among the ruins. Daniel didn't notice, but unseen eyes were already watching. Minutes stretched like hours. Sparks flew as he replaced a damaged node with one from his ship's broken systems. Sweat rolled down his face. Finally, with a sharp spark and a hum, the implants flickered to life. Princess Lyra gasped. Slowly, she opened her eyes. For the first time in her life, glowing silver light filled them. She blinked, her vision adjusting. She looked up at the night sky and tears rolled down her cheeks. "The stars," she whispered. "They are beautiful." Daniel smiled, feeling a strange warmth in his chest. He had given her sight, but he didn't know this act of kindness would soon shake the galaxy. From the distance, a low roar filled the night. Engines, warships. The moment her implants activated, a signal spread far across the stars. Enemies and allies alike had heard it, and the galaxy was about to burn. The ruins grew colder as the night stretched on. Daniel's heart was still racing from what he had done. The alien princess, Lyra, stood weakly by the wall, her silver eyes glowing faintly with the repaired implants. She was no longer blind. She was seeing the world for the first time, and the wonder in her face made Daniel forget the danger for a moment. But that moment ended quickly. A low, distant rumble shook the ground beneath their feet. Daniel froze. He had heard that sound before. Starship engines moving in the sky. "They found me," Lyra whispered, her voice filled with dread. Daniel turned sharply. "Who found you?" Her hands trembled as she touched the implants carefully, as if afraid they would stop working. "The moment you activated them, a signal went out. My implants are not only for vision. They are royal devices, connected to ancient codes. Every faction across the stars now knows that the blind princess can see again." Daniel's chest tightened. "And that means—" "It means war," she said, her voice breaking. "They will come for me. Some will want to protect me, others will want to use me, and many will want me dead. You should not have helped me. Now you are tied to my fate." For a moment, silence hung heavy between them. Daniel looked at the sky, thinking of his broken ship, his empty supplies, his weeks of struggle. He had only wanted to survive. But now he was part of something far greater. He didn't back away. Instead, he bent down, picked up his pack, and said, "Then we'd better move. If ships are coming, we need shelter before they land." Lyra blinked in surprise. You would stay with me?" Daniel gave a small shrug. "I didn't fix your eyes just to let you die in the next hour." Her lips curved into the faintest smile, the first real smile he had seen from her. She nodded, and together they moved deeper into the ruins. The ruins hid many secrets. Daniel guided her through collapsed corridors, broken halls once filled with alien art and royal banners. The walls were cracked, but some parts of the ancient palace still hummed faintly with power. Lyra touched the walls, whispering names in her language. She remembered this place, not as ruins, but as home. At last they reached an old chamber buried under stone. Daniel pushed aside fallen debris with effort until they found a sealed doorway. Using his tools, he forced the lock, and the door opened with a long hiss of stale air. Inside, it was dark but safe. The chamber looked like an abandoned command room, filled with broken screens and half-dead machines. Dust covered everything. Daniel set down his pack and turned on a dim lamp. "This will work," he said. "At least for now." Lyra stepped inside, her silver eyes glowing faintly in the dark. She stared at the machines, then at Daniel. "You risk everything for me?" "Why?" Daniel hesitated. He didn't know the full answer himself. Maybe it was loneliness. Maybe it was instinct. Or maybe it was the way she had looked at the stars for the first time. "Because you needed help," he said simply. She lowered her head, her voice soft. "No one has ever said that to me before." "Not even in my own court." Hours passed. Daniel worked carefully, repairing more of her implants. The first fix had restored her vision, but many functions were still broken. He realized they were more than medical devices. They carried encryption systems, communication codes, even star maps. Whoever built them had tied her life to the galaxy's politics. As he soldered a tiny circuit, Lyra watched him closely. "You work with such care. Are all humans like you?" Daniel chuckled lightly. "No, most humans would have walked away." She tilted her head. "And yet you stayed. That makes you rare." The air between them grew warmer, softer. But the calm was broken when the ground trembled again, this time closer. Daniel quickly dimmed the lamp. Through the cracks of the ruined chamber, they saw light sweeping across the ruins outside. Soldiers. Daniel cursed under his breath. "They're here already." Lyra gripped his arm tightly. Her silver eyes glowed brighter with fear. "If they find us, they will kill you first. A human touching a royal is forbidden." "Then let's make sure they don't find us," Daniel whispered. He guided her deeper into the chamber, into a hidden tunnel behind fallen stones. They crouched together, breathing quietly as voices echoed outside. "The signal came from here," one soldier said. "Search every corner," another barked. "The princess cannot escape this time." Daniel's pulse hammered in his chest. Lyra's hand trembled in his, but she did not let go. Minutes felt like hours as the soldiers searched. Their boots crunched on rubble. Their light scanned the broken hall. Daniel kept one hand on his tool, nothing more than a scanner, but he was ready to fight if needed. At last, the voices faded, moving away. The rumble of engines echoed again, but this time further off. For now, they were safe. Daniel exhaled slowly. That was close. Lyra turned to him, her eyes shining in the dim light. "You risked everything again. Do you realize what this means?" Daniel shook his head. What does it mean? It means, she whispered, her voice filled with both hope and fear, that the human who healed my blindness is now bound to my destiny. And destiny is about to tear this galaxy apart. Her words sent a chill down Daniel's spine. He had no idea what tomorrow would bring. But one thing was clear. He could no longer walk away. The night grew silent again after the soldiers left. Only the low hum of damaged machines filled the air inside the ruined chamber. Daniel sat on the cold floor, his tools scattered around him. He could feel sweat on his forehead, not just from the repairs but from the close brush with death. Princess Lyra sat across from him, her glowing silver eyes fixed on the faint light from the broken monitors. She was still adjusting to sight. Every blink showed her amazement. She touched the dusty console with wonder, as if seeing her own past return to life. Daniel finally broke the silence. So, this is really the first time you're seeing the world? She nodded slowly. Yes, all my life I lived in darkness. I knew only voices, smells, and the touch of others guiding me. I never knew what the stars looked like. I only imagined. She paused, her voice trembling. But tonight you gave me what I never thought possible. Daniel looked down, suddenly awkward. I just repaired a machine. That's all. Her gaze sharpened. No, you gave me vision. And with it comes something else. She pressed her fingers gently against her temples as if listening to a voice deep inside her mind. Her silver eyes brightened and she gasped. What is it? Daniel asked quickly. Her breathing quickened. I see more than this room. I see. Her voice shook, almost in fear. A vision. Daniel moved closer. What kind of vision? Lyra's implants glowed brighter, almost too bright for the dark chamber. Her body trembled as words spilled from her lips. I see fire across the stars, warships falling like rain, cities burning, and at the center, a man not of this galaxy, a human standing beside me. Daniel's chest tightened. That sounds like you, she whispered, finishing his thought. Her glowing eyes locked onto his. It was written in the prophecy of Vera. The blind princess would one day see again, and when she did, the galaxy would burn. But she would not be alone. A stranger from a distant world would walk with her and change everything. Daniel felt the weight of her words crush against his chest. He shook his head. No, I'm just an engineer. I fix things. I didn't come here to start wars. Lyra leaned closer, her voice low and urgent. You already have. By healing me, you awakened the prophecy. Every faction will move now, some to claim me, others to destroy me, and you are part of this fate whether you want it or not. Before Daniel could respond, the chamber shuddered again. Dust fell from the ceiling. Distant explosions rolled through the ruins. What now? Daniel muttered. Lyra closed her eyes briefly, her implants scanning signals Daniel couldn't see. The first fleets have arrived. Not all of them are my enemies, but none of them will trust you. A human with me will look like corruption or worse, betrayal. Daniel stood pacing. Then what do you want me to do? Leave you? Hide while your people tear each other apart? Her silver eyes softened. No, I want you to stay. Because the vision is clear, I cannot survive this alone. And neither can you. The chamber doors rattled as another tremor struck. Daniel grabbed his pack and pulled her to her feet. Then we need to move again. If fleets are here, this place won't be safe much longer. They made their way through a hidden tunnel at the back of the chamber. It opened into the lower ruins, a maze of stone and broken steel. Strange lights flickered across the walls from distant fires. Daniel guided her carefully, but Lyra now walked with strength, her eyes adjusting more with every step. She stopped suddenly, her gaze fixed on the horizon through a broken archway. Daniel followed her stare and froze. Above the ruined city, enormous starships hung in the sky like predators. Their engines glowed red and their silhouettes blocked out the stars. Columns of soldiers descended on shuttles, their weapons ready. That's not rescue, Daniel muttered. Lyra's eyes glowed brighter, her voice trembling with both fear and resolve. No, that is the prophecy beginning. The war has started. One of the ships opened fire on the ruins, shaking the ground as flames consumed the outer walls. Daniel pulled Lyra down behind cover as debris exploded around them. His ears rang with the sound of destruction. We need to get out of here, he shouted, but Lyra did not move. Her implants shone like fire. No, look. Daniel turned. Through the chaos, Lyra saw something he could not. Hidden signals in the air, secret codes activated by her implants. Her vision now showed her patterns of war. The movements of fleets, the plans of generals. She gasped as if drowning in information. They are all converging here, she whispered. Every faction. Every enemy. They believe capturing me will give them power, but none of them understand. If they fight for me, they will destroy each other. Daniel grabbed her shoulders, forcing her to focus. Then tell me what to do. How do we survive this? Her silver eyes locked on his. You survive by staying with me. Together we are the key. Alone we are nothing. Another explosion lit the night sky and the ruins shook violently. Soldiers were closing in. Daniel tightened his grip on her hand. Then let's fight destiny together. And with that, the human and the princess vanished into the burning ruins, while above them, the first battle of the Galactic War had already begun. The ruins burned as night stretched toward dawn. Daniel and Princess Lyra slipped through collapsed corridors, the thunder of warships echoing above them. Dust rained from the ceilings, and each step was filled with danger. Daniel's only thought was survival. Keep her alive, keep moving. But survival was not so simple. As they reached an open courtyard, the air shimmered with strange light. Shadows moved quickly across the broken stones, and the sound of armored boots surrounded them. Daniel froze, pulling Lyra behind him, but it was too late. From the smoke, figures appeared, alien soldiers dressed in black and silver armor. Their weapons glowed, and their eyes burned with suspicion. At their front stood a tall commander with a scar across his cheek. His voice was sharp and full of authority. Princess Lyra of House Vera, he declared, you live. Lyra's eyes widened. Commander Varen, you came. The commander lowered his weapon, but his expression was hard. We searched for you for weeks. Many believed you dead, and now we find you here. His eyes slid to Daniel, narrowing with disgust. With a human, the soldiers murmured, their weapons rising. Daniel's chest tightened. He had expected enemies from the stars, but not this. These were her own people, and already they looked at him like he was poison. He saved me, Lyra said quickly. She stepped forward, her silver eyes glowing with strength. Without him, I would still be blind. He repaired my implants. The commander's eyes hardened. Impossible. No human could repair royal technology. Lyra stood taller, her voice sharp. You dare question me? I see with my own eyes now. He gave me sight. The soldiers shifted uneasily. They respected their princess, but the thought of a human touching her sacred implants was unthinkable. Varen's face twisted with anger. Princess, your vision has been tainted. This human has defiled your body and your name. He cannot be trusted. He must be executed. Daniel's heart pounded. He gripped his small tool, though it was useless against their weapons. He knew he couldn't fight them all. No! Lyra's voice rang out. She stepped between Daniel and the commander, her arms spread wide. If you harm him, you defy me. He is under my protection. The courtyard fell silent. The soldiers glanced at one another, unsure. Lyra had always been fragile, the blind princess hidden away in shadows. But now she stood tall, her glowing silver eyes filled with fire. Commander Varen's jaw tightened. Princess, with respect, your judgment is clouded. You were weak in the past. Blindness made you vulnerable. This human manipulates you. I will not allow the House of Vera to be shamed. Daniel finally spoke, his voice steady though his hands trembled. I didn't come here to control her. I didn't even know who she was. I only saw someone who needed help. That's all. His words only made the soldiers sneer. To them, humans were outsiders, unworthy of touching their royal blood. But Lyra's eyes softened as she turned to Daniel. He tells the truth. I felt his kindness before I even had sight. He healed me not for power, but because he cared. And now he stands beside me even when death stares him in the face. Can any of you claim the same? Her words struck the soldiers, but the commander's expression remained cold. You are the future of our house, Varen said firmly. You cannot walk with a human. If you refuse to hand him over, then I must consider you compromised. Daniel felt the tension in the air. One wrong move and they would both be killed. He stepped closer to Lyra, lowering his voice. If you let me go, maybe they'll trust you again. Maybe you'll be safe. Lyra turned on him with fire in her eyes. No, don't you see? This is exactly what the prophecy warned. My people fear what they do not understand. They would rather kill an innocent man than admit the galaxy is changing. Before Daniel could respond, the sky above split with fire. Warships clashed in orbit, explosions lighting the horizon. The ground shook violently as a nearby shuttle crashed into the ruins, flames rising high. The soldiers scattered for cover, shouting orders. In the chaos, Lyra grabbed Daniel's hand. "Now, we must run," Commander Varen shouted after them. "Princess, stop at once. You dishonor us all." But she didn't stop. She pulled Daniel into the smoke and rubble, their footsteps pounding through the broken halls. Behind them, the soldiers gave chase, their voices echoing with anger and betrayal. Daniel's lungs burned as they ran, but he refused to let go of her hand. For the first time, he realized something deeper. The greatest danger wasn't just the war or the prophecy. It was the people closest to her. As they disappeared into the shadows, Lyra whispered fiercely, "They don't see it yet, Daniel. But one day they will understand. You are not my shame. You are my strength." And in that moment, Daniel knew there was no turning back. He was no longer just a survivor on a ruined world. He was part of her fight, her destiny, and the war that was about to consume the galaxy. The ruins shook as the war above grew louder. Explosions lit the sky, fire raining from distant ships. Daniel and Lyra crouched in a shattered hallway, the thunder of battle rolling like storms across the planet. Daniel pressed his back against the cold wall, chest heaving. "This isn't just a rescue mission," he muttered. "This is a war zone." Lyra's glowing silver eyes scanned the sky through the cracks. "It is worse," she whispered. The moment my implants lit again, the signal went across the stars. It was not only my people who heard it. Every empire, every faction, every rival. They all know the blind princess can see again. Daniel frowned. "And why does that matter so much?" Her gaze grew hard. "Because my vision implants carry more than sight. They hold codes hidden deep inside from the time of the first kings. Whoever controls me can unlock ancient weapons powerful enough to decide the fate of galaxies. To them, I am not a person. I am a weapon." Daniel's stomach sank. He had fixed her eyes to give her life, not to start a war. But now fleets were burning the skies because of it. Above, two massive ships clashed, their beams cutting through the darkness. Smaller fighters darted around them like angry insects, firing red trails of energy. A nearby explosion shook the ruins, throwing Daniel and Lyra to the ground. He pulled her back to her feet. "We can't stay here. If they're fighting over you, they'll destroy this whole city to get you." Lyra nodded grimly. "Then we must move." "But where?" Daniel hesitated. He had no plan. His ship was destroyed, his supplies nearly gone. But he knew one thing. They could not surrender to either side. "We run," he said simply. The streets of the ruined city became a maze of fire and shadow. Everywhere they turned, soldiers fought, some in Lyra's colors, others from rival houses. Daniel pulled her through collapsing alleys, keeping low as energy blasts scorched the ground around them. At one corner, they stumbled upon a squad of armored troops. The soldiers froze at the sight of Lyra, their weapons lowering in shock. "It's her," one gasped. "The princess lives." But their joy turned to suspicion when they saw Daniel at her side. "And she walks with a human?" Before they could act, another blast rocked the street. Enemy soldiers poured in from the other side, shouting war cries. Chaos exploded as the two groups clashed, leaving Daniel and Lyra trapped in the middle. "Run," Daniel shouted, pulling her down a side street. They sprinted as beams scorched the air around them. The screams of soldiers echoed behind, but Daniel didn't look back. He only ran, gripping her hand tighter with every step. At last, they ducked into an abandoned tower, climbing broken stairs until they reached the roof. From there, the whole battlefield was visible. Daniel's breath caught. The sky was filled with hundreds of ships. Some bore the banners of House Vera. Others carried symbols Daniel didn't recognize. Sharp wings, burning suns, coiled serpents. Fleets from across the galaxy had come, each fighting to claim or kill the princess. Below, the ruined city was burning. Soldiers from different factions tore through the streets, their weapons cutting down anyone in their way. The ground was littered with smoke, fire, and broken machines. Lyra stood at the edge, her silver eyes glowing with terrible clarity. She could see the patterns of battle, the signals hidden in the fleets. Her implants revealed truths invisible to others. "They will never stop," she whispered. "Not until one side controls me or all sides are destroyed." Daniel stepped beside her. "Then we can't let anyone control you." She turned to him, her eyes filled with pain. "But if they can't control me, they will destroy me." Her words hit him like a knife. He had given her sight and in doing so painted a target on her back. "Then we fight," Daniel said firmly. "Not for them, not for power, but for you, for your freedom." Suddenly, a voice boomed across the city, carried by loudspeakers on enemy ships. "People of House Vera, lay down your weapons. The princess is no longer yours. She belongs to us now. Surrender or be destroyed." Lyra's jaw tightened. "That is Lord Krev of the Serpent Throne. He has always wanted the codes. He will never stop." Daniel clenched his fists. "Then let's make sure he doesn't get them." Before Lyra could respond, another blast struck the tower. The roof shook violently, stones collapsing around them. Daniel pulled her back as the edge crumbled into fire below. "We have to move now," he shouted. But as they turned, the shadows of new soldiers appeared at the stairs. Weapons raised, faces hard. They were not enemies this time. They wore the royal crest of House Vera. Daniel felt relief for a moment. "Your people!" But Lyra's face grew pale. "No, not all of them are loyal to me. Some would rather see me dead than let me fall into prophecy." The soldiers raised their rifles, their leader stepping forward. His voice was cold. "Princess Lyra, surrender, or we kill you and the human both." Daniel's stomach sank. He realized the truth in that instant. The war was no longer about factions alone. It was about fear, prophecy, and control, and kindness. The simple act of healing had started it all. As the soldiers closed in, the sky above split with another explosion. The war was no longer beginning. It was here. The rooftop burned with falling debris. The soldiers of House Vera stood in a half circle, weapons glowing, their commander's voice echoing above the thunder of war. "Princess Lyra," he said coldly, "you are no longer safe to lead. By walking with a human, you have broken our laws. Surrender now or die where you stand." Daniel stepped in front of her instinctively, raising his arms though he had no real weapon. His voice was steady. "If you want her, you'll have to kill me first." The soldiers sneered at him. To them, he was nothing but a weak outsider, a shadow against their advanced weapons. Yet Daniel didn't move. His heart hammered, but he refused to step aside. Behind him, Lyra's silver eyes glowed brighter. She touched his shoulder gently, her voice calm but fierce. "No, Daniel. This is not your fight alone. This is mine." She stepped forward, standing between him and the soldiers. Her regal presence seemed to grow, even as the ruins shook under fire. For the first time, she was not the fragile blind princess they had always known. She was something new, something stronger. "You think I am weak," she told her guards, her voice rising above the battle noise. "You think blindness made me powerless, that I could only be protected, hidden, or used. But open your eyes. I see now, not only with these implants but with truth. And the truth is this: I will no longer be your pawn." The soldiers hesitated. Her voice carried authority they had not heard before. Some lowered their weapons slightly, unsure. The commander scowled. "You speak as if you are free, but you are bound by prophecy. You are dangerous to us all." Her glowing eyes fixed on him. "Dangerous only because you fear what you cannot control. You would rather destroy me than let me choose my own path. But hear me now, I choose." The air shimmered as her implants pulsed with hidden light. Circuits long dormant flared alive, sending out waves of energy. Old machines buried deep in the ruins responded with a low hum, like giants stirring in their sleep. The soldiers stepped back in alarm. Daniel stared in awe. "What are you doing?" Her voice was calm but steady. For years, these implants were only broken eyes. But they are more than that. They are keys. Keys to the old weapons of my ancestors. My people kept me blind because they feared I might awaken them. But now I see, and I will decide how they are used. The ground trembled as ancient panels opened across the courtyard, revealing hidden structures buried under rubble. Strange towers rose slowly, their surfaces glowing with alien runes. The soldiers' faces turned pale. "The planetary defense grid," one whispered. "It still exists." The commander raised his weapon, panic in his eyes. "Princess, stop this madness. If you activate the codes, you will doom us all." But Lyra did not stop. Her silver eyes shone like twin stars. "No, I will not let others fight over me any longer. If they want war, I will show them that I am not their prize, I am their equal. And I will not be silent." Daniel stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Lyra, if you use these weapons, won't it make things worse? They'll all see you as a threat." She turned to him, her expression softening for the first time. "Yes, they will. But for the first time, they will see me, not as a weak girl to be hidden, not as a pawn to be played, but as a leader. And I would rather be feared for who I am than pitied for what I was." Daniel felt the weight of her words. He wanted to protect her, to pull her away from the fire, but he also knew this was her choice. She was no longer the blind princess. She was the woman who could change the galaxy. The commander shouted again, raising his rifle. "Seize her now." But before his soldiers could move, the ancient towers flared with energy. Blinding light filled the courtyard and arcs of power crackled through the air. The soldiers were thrown back, their weapons ripped from their hands. The commander himself staggered, his voice drowned by the roar of awakening machines. Lyra stood in the center of it all, her hair glowing in the storm of light, her eyes burning with unshakable will. She looked like a queen born in fire. When the light faded, silence fell. The soldiers lay scattered, their weapons useless. The towers hummed softly, waiting for her command. Lyra raised her chin. "I will not run anymore. I will not let others decide my fate. If this galaxy wants war, let it begin with truth. I am no longer the blind princess. I am Lyra of Vera, and I choose my own path." Daniel stepped beside her, his heart heavy with both pride and fear. "And I'll be with you. Whatever happens next." She turned her glowing eyes to him, her voice soft but steady. "Then we will face it together." Above them, the sky burned as fleets tore into each other. The first true battles of the Galactic War had begun. But on the ground, something even more powerful had awakened, Lyra's will to lead, and her choice to defy destiny. The ruins of the old city glowed with strange new light. Towers of ancient defense rose from the earth, humming with forgotten power. Dust swirled in the air like smoke, and the ground shook with every pulse of the machines. Daniel stood at Lyra's side, shielding his eyes from the glow. "What did you just unleash?" he whispered. Lyra's silver eyes burned like fire. "The legacy of my ancestors. Weapons strong enough to protect this world or destroy it." Above them, the sky was filled with chaos. Hundreds of ships clashed, their beams cutting through the darkness. Fighters spun and exploded like falling stars. Larger cruisers rained fire down on the planet, and the sound of war was everywhere. Thunder, screams, and the hiss of burning metal. Daniel's heart pounded. He had repaired one pair of implants, and now an entire galaxy was tearing itself apart. "We can't stay here," he said quickly. "They'll target us as soon as they realize what you activated." "They already know," Lyra replied, her voice calm despite the storm. "They can feel it in their fear. I am no longer hidden in darkness. They will all come for me now." The words had barely left her lips when the first wave arrived. Enemy soldiers descended from shuttles, their weapons drawn, their banners marked with the coiled serpent of Lord Krev. "There she is," one shouted. "The princess lives, take her alive." Daniel grabbed her hand. "Move!" They ran across the broken courtyard as energy blasts lit the air around them. Stone shattered under their feet and dust choked Daniel's lungs. He pulled Lyra toward a stairwell leading down into the ruins, but the enemy was close behind. Then the ground shook again. Not from ships above, but from the ancient towers themselves. Lyra's implants pulsed with light and the machines responded. Beams of blue fire erupted from the towers, striking the sky. Enemy ships exploded instantly, torn apart by energy unseen for centuries. The soldiers froze in terror. "The defense grid? It's alive!" Daniel stared in shock. "You're controlling them." Lyra shook her head. "Not fully. They respond to my presence, but they hunger for commands. And I fear, if I do not master them, they will master me." The thought chilled him. The weapons of her ancestors were not tools. They were living systems, ancient and powerful. And now they were tied to her will. More soldiers arrived, this time from her own house Vera. But instead of helping, they too raised their weapons at Daniel. "Princess," their leader shouted, "step away from the human. He has poisoned your mind." Daniel's fists clenched. "Here we go again." Lyra stepped forward, her voice sharp. "No, he gave me sight when all of you abandoned me. He is no poison, he is my strength. If you cannot accept that, then you are no allies of mine." The soldiers hesitated, but their loyalty to tradition outweighed their doubt. They advanced. Suddenly, blinding light streaked across the battlefield. Another fleet had arrived, this one bearing the mark of the Burning Sun Empire. Their ships rained fire on both House Vera and Krev's forces. In the space of moments, 3 factions clashed at once. The air was thick with fire, the ground trembling under the weight of destruction. Daniel pulled Lyra close, his voice fierce. "If we stay between them, we'll be crushed. Lyra's eyes glowed brighter, reflecting the fire of war. Then we do not stay between them. We lead. He stared at her. Lead? Lyra, this isn't a court debate. This is war! Her voice softened, but it carried unshakable resolve. You taught me something, Daniel. You healed me not because of prophecy, not because of power, but because it was right. If I lead with that truth, maybe I can stop this madness before it consumes us all. Daniel wanted to argue, to tell her it was impossible, but when he saw the strength in her glowing eyes, he couldn't. She wasn't the blind princess anymore. She was something greater. Then I'll follow you, he said firmly, no matter where this goes. The ancient towers pulsed again, their energy building. Ships above turned their fire toward the ruins, desperate to end the awakening below. Beams rained down, shaking the earth apart. Lyra raised her arms, her implants blazing. The towers responded with arcs of power, shielding the courtyard with a dome of light. The attacks burned against it, but the shield held for now. The soldiers, stunned, fell back in fear. Some fled, others knelt, believing prophecy had truly come alive. Daniel and Lyra stood at the center of the storm, fire reflecting in their eyes. This is only the beginning, she whispered. The galaxy will not stop until it chooses, peace or destruction. Daniel tightened his grip on her hand. Then we make them choose peace. Together. Above them, the fleets clashed harder, fire spreading across the sky like endless dawn. The first true battle of the prophecy had begun, and in the ruins below, a human and an alien princess stood as the spark that would ignite or save the galaxy.